What the fuck is up, friends? It's Bread and Circuses. It's your boy Caleb Salvatore here.
And this is Nick Kohler here again, being sick like last time. So
pussy. We got a good friend of mine here. He's a stand-up comic. You actually, if you came to our show, Holiday Detox, on December 26th, you saw him. He kind of killed it, in my opinion, my honest opinion, and I'm extremely honest. I feel like he did better than everybody else. That's just me, though. It's Ben Webb is his name.
Oh, thank you very much, man.
Absolutely. Yeah, make sure you talk a little bit closer into it.
A little bit closer. All right. Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No problem.
Yeah.
we always have to go through with our guests where they hear us harping on them for just talking into the microphones because it's such like an unnatural thing.
It is
to talk into a mic, man. Like
it's part of the raw charm that this show has. I feel like, though.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, bro, talking.
Do it raw. Condoms are for pussies.
So is birth control. No, I'm just kidding. So you got a show coming up at Sozo?
Yeah. January 25th, 7 p.m., $9 a ticket. Yeah, it's a Comedy Mafia clean comedy showcase at Sozo Coffee House.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is Comedy Mafia, is that like a group or is that just the name of the show?
Both.
Okay.
As far as I can tell,
okay.
It's real. It's like a newborn. We're still figuring it out, but it's something that Lavetti Vegas, if you're familiar, he's kind of spearheaded this. Really wants this thing to work, and he works really hard at whatever he does. And he got together a group of guys like myself, and to be a part of it. And yeah, if you saw the promo stuff, we put on suits for it. Did the whole concept, and we want to do it serious. So
that theme that you guys have for it is really, really cool. Like I remember seeing all the ads for it and everything, and I was like, man, that's fun. That's dope, man. I wish I would have thought of that. Are you guys gonna perform in like the suits and everything too, or?
I am leaning 3/4 in that direction for myself. I can't speak for the others. I was like, hey, this isn't half bad.
Dude, I don't care who you are. Every man looks better in a suit. Like there's not a whole lot of dudes out there that like, even if you're a 10, you're a 10 and a half in a suit.
Right.
And like,
I mean, you guys have seen me like go up on stage. I dress like a scumbag. It's like ripped jeans and band t-shirts no matter what, but I look pretty good in a suit too. I fill out. So like,
well, he might be homeless or something, but he's got jokes and we can read his handwriting. So let him go.
That's right.
you could throw a dude that looks like he just survived like the Hiroshima bombing in a suit, and he would look not half bad. All right.
Exactly. There's definitely some charm to a suit. Yeah, Xavier Jones is on that too. He's going to be on my show on the 31st.
Yes, sir.
At, Wired. So
nice. All right.
Yeah, so I think back the 20 said you worked with Lavetti prior to that.
Yeah, a few times. Of course, outside of open mics, with a few shows by Shamar Edwards. Shamar Edwards Comedy did a few shows at Sozo Coffee House that I was on, and he was on one of them, and that's where I met him. Okay. And just real good connection there. And we love doing what we do, and just kind of went from there.
Yeah. So Sozo is super like Christian conservative values type thing, and I know they like it clean. So like, what are you doing to like make sure you don't cross that line to never be welcome back?
Fair enough. I'm sure as you guys have seen at the Holiday Detox and the roast battles and things that I have done, I have the capability to go be anywhere. I want to chase wherever funny is. I want to go there and be able to bring it. So if it's dark, I can laugh at dark stuff. I have the ability to do that. But where I'm aiming is I have this idea of comedy being clean but not safe. I don't want to handcuff myself, but I know where I want to go. With a lot of opportunities will aim in the clean territory. So myself, I'm a Christian. I'm training to actually be a minister someday. So I've got that world in me already. So I know where the lines are pretty well.
Yeah.
Me and Caleb were talking about this the other night. It seems like doing clean stuff opens you up to a lot more type of venues and stuff like that, where you can do like you could do shows for like kids or something, or even like teenagers, or like go to a school or something, you know what I mean? Like whereas like if you're some guy that's like the Legion of Skanks type dudes, like you're probably
at me. Why don't you just say my name?
No,
because
I mean,
go to
like
schools. That sounded bad. I'm sorry.
Well, like even like the stuff I do, I mean, I don't really censor myself that much, and like you definitely can't go into the Sozo Coffee House saying "fuck" in any of your jokes. Like they'd probably throw a rock at you and knock you out or something like that if you did that there. So
that's
a prayer circle right on the spot. But yeah, I've one of the things I've noticed, and I've been trying to wrestle with this because I was under the idea that, well, if you go pure clean, you have to cut yourself off from so much funny. That was what the thought is, and I'm sure it sounds like you guys are. But like you look at a lot of the top clean comics, they dive right into flatulent stuff, pregnancy stuff, some details that would ordinarily be, you wouldn't think they would be able to do it, but they're able to approach it in such a way that it's the relatability. I think if it's the likability, the relatability, people will forgive a lot more. I've noticed that.
Really?
Oh yeah.
I had a conversation with a newer comic at the Backline one time about something like that. I was like, dude, because he was worried about a joke that he was going to tell that was kind of offensive. I said, okay, no one here is going to not forgive you for one joke. If you fuck up and you come back and do it again, then some people might have a problem with you. But there's nobody you should care about that's going to, oh, that guy said a joke that offended me. I don't want to work with him, kind of, you know what I mean? So.
Yeah, it kind of differs. Some guys and gals, of course, they're more able to listen and learn and adjust. Others just, I want to do my own thing, screw you guys, and they've got different goals. Let them have at it. But like if you guys, I don't know if you guys, part of your goals are someday unlocking the key to go into like corporate gigs and, you know, stuff like that. If that was part of your goals, then yeah, like you said, Nick, you know, learning how to embrace clean, or at least have clean stuff ready, you know, not that you have to completely abandon who you are and really what you love to tell jokes about and stuff, but that have the ability developed to be able to go to those worlds. I think it's pretty wise. So.
Yeah, it's probably a good idea to just have some stuff you can throw out that's not just talking about like spreading assholes apart or something like that. You know what I mean? Like,
well, like my first ever show that I got paid to do was back like after the 4th of July. It was a political convention. And I don't think were ready because I had never done it. I was very, very new into comedy. I honestly was not ready to be doing a show. And I had like 10 minutes and they were not ready for what I was about to say. And I had a woman I actually did fairly well, but there were some people that were in the audience like, oh my God, what's going on right now? So I had a woman get up and storm out, complain to the venue. It was kind of a disaster, but it went well as far as your first time can go. So
yeah, you didn't collapse in on yourself like a dying star. You didn't run off the stage at 5 minutes. And, anything of those really embarrassing stuff.
What was your first mic like? Your first open mic?
Oh man, first mic was at the Backline.
Yeah.
And I had worked up, I took like a month or so to work up the nerve. First for me came improv classes with Big Canvas, and doing some of those graduation shows gets you on stage, gets your feet wet. You're like, I survived, you know, that's the big thing. The first time at the open mic, I distinctly remember that there were muscles that I didn't know I had that were tense, rigid, everything. There were jokes at other open mics, some of the comedians were saying that I really found funny, but physically I could not relax enough to let the sound out. I remember how bad that was. And then once I got up there, it's almost like the dam broke a little bit. The tension started going out, especially once you get those laughs.
Yeah.
Oh man, does that help that transition from nerves to fun? Like nothing else.
That's one thing, like, because everybody has funny friends, you know what I mean? Like, if you can't laugh around with your friends, they're probably not your friends. But the one thing that my friends have told me about it is like, dude, I could never go up and like tell those in front of people. And I'm like, well, I don't know about you guys, but when I'm up there, like sometimes it doesn't even feel like there's any people in front of you. Like, you know what I mean?
Sometimes the lights,
the lights almost like hide everybody.
Same. The lights were the biggest thing for me. I was like, whoa, I did not expect this, to not be able to see anybody. But I'd never been on stage before. So there.
Yeah, that's that intensity. Different stages, obviously, they don't have them right in your eyes and other things, but there for sure, you have to fight what your senses are telling you that you knew you just came out of the crowd. Logically, you know they're there, but when you're up there, you can't tell for at all. And I don't know about you with like your open mics, but I had. It's like, okay, you got 4 minutes at the back line. All right, I've got these jokes meticulously picked out. I got it timed out in my car. I was telling them I got 4 minutes on the dot. And I went up there, and all of a sudden, I raced through them in like 2 minutes.
There's 2.5. And you're like, wait, what am I going to do with the next minute now?
So that was one of the things I remember from doing competitive speech stuff in high school was that they would always say that if you were really, really underprepared, you were going to go overtime. But if you were kind of underprepared, you know what I mean? You would go through it really, really quick. So that's why we would always say that it's best to not just practice alone or practice your stuff in front of other people or something like that, because it's like the X Factor, you know. It's so easy to just like go through your jokes, like not give any time for anybody to laugh, you know, like
that's I think it's a misconception, like you were saying, that everyone bombs on their first time. I've seen people do really good their first time. Now, everyone's going to have rough spots. Like, I mean, even if you've been doing it a couple years, you're still going to have rough spots from time to time. But,
Shoot, Jason Regan was telling me about, they did a show for the Nebraska guys, and Larry, the cable guy, like wasn't doing good. That dude's been doing comedy for like 40 years, man.
That's generational, though.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's just like everybody's gonna have a bad show, you know.
So I will say this, and I don't want to sound like I'm being like an okay boomer moment, but I think younger kids, if you noticed at the Detox show, there were quite a few kids, courtesy of my younger brother. How could I hate him for it, though? He made us a lot of money. Brought 18 to 22-year-old kids with him from his college friends. And those kids kind of didn't get it. You know what I mean? They're used to quick hitting like memes. They don't want to lead up. They just want the meme and the punchline right away. So I think it was a little bit different for them. So
I saw a lot of those kids laughing and everything. I think it's just like, if you're doing telling jokes or something like that about being married or divorced or something like that to a bunch of 18-year-olds, they're going to be like, yeah, I can't relate because I've never been married or divorced. So.
And that was the most interesting thing about that show to me, was when I was up there, you had half the audience on the right side was over 30 and the other half you had a bunch of kids. So I would tell a political joke, that half of the room would laugh. I would tell a pop culture joke, the other half of the room would laugh. And it was just kind of cool to see. So,
yeah, now that you mentioned that, really did shake out that way with you and the other comics. It was more pronounced. And oh, wow. But yeah, I hadn't really thought about that. That's something, I'm sure there's a lot of things that you guys can have already discussed or think yourself and haven't shared yet. There's so many things about comedy to fall in love with. And there's so many things about comedy that frustrate the living crap out of you.
Definitely.
Yeah, and part of that is the attention span of your audience that you have now, the ones that you're working towards, different crowds. Like, how do you be able to appeal to all? There's ways to do it, but you almost feel like you're being led to, okay, tell me what you think is funny. I will write for it if you'll pay me. And it's like, I want to be my own comic. I want you to laugh at my own stuff, you know?
Right.
Ben, I want to talk how, so you said you're like right now training to be a minister, right? Like you're going through is it like the classes, or how is that work?
Through my church organization, they accredit you first, then license, and if you want to down the line, be ordained. So I have a master's from Grace University. They closed a few years ago. That's what I came out here to Omaha for, was to get my master's in Christian ministry. So I have the education, and I have been a pastor previously for about a year, served as a deacon for 3 or 4 years, previous church. So I have some of the experience. I love to do it. You could probably tell with the way that I write, the way that I express myself sometimes. I understand. I get it. Sometimes too wordy. I'm working on it. I'm working on it.
We love it, though.
But you can tell that's
just the style of Ben Webb.
So you can tell that comes out, and that's something that I would like to step forward into again, because I'm sure we may cover it. But because I got divorced, my ex-wife left me. We go through a separation and a divorce. My previous church said, if you go through that, you're no longer qualified to lead or teach at this church.
Wow.
So yeah, I had no choice but to resign and move on. So
Damn.
yeah.
Does it feel like the different churches are almost like comedy, where there's just different styles and stuff that like it's so diverse with the churches and everything that you can't just lump it all into one big thing? Or what's your experience with that?
I think you're onto something there, because that would be a mistake to lump them all together. That at the core, yes, there should be essential beliefs that unite everybody around the world. You got the underground church in China, for example, that's exploding, and look at the hell that they're going through. But there are brothers and sisters as well, because we share those beliefs. But you can look at, if you want traditional Orthodox, you've got the liturgy, the robes, and all the pomp and all the stuff. You got the Roman Catholics, Greek Orthodox, stuff like that you can do. There you got the charismatics and one that doing cartwheels and jumping around and doing all kinds of weird stuff. The really weird stuff you see on TV that's kind of theologically kind of iffy. That's them. But it's all part of the big family. It is quite wild to see.
Yeah, that's interesting you say about the underground China church. I want to hear more about that, because like a lot of, we kind of take it for granted, the whole First Amendment thing here, but religion is literally like illegal in China. Like,
yeah, interestingly enough, they do have a state-sponsored church, Christian church there. It's kind of like a way for them to throw them a bone a little bit, but they have to come to their building, under their pastors that they approve, all of it. And you have a number of them that appreciate that kind of protection, but they understand it's a boot on your neck kind of protection. Right. So you're free, but you're not free. Just because the party says you're free doesn't mean you actually are. And so much of the growth is the underground churches. They will literally risk their lives. They'll have people come in the dark of the night, throw them in vans, take them away, put them in camps like they are with the Muslims and other things, to try to quote unquote re-educate you to their way of thinking. But yeah, it's
dang, that's crazy.
Yeah,
I've never heard of that.
Oh yeah.
I did not know that. I knew China was bad right now with all the protests and everything, but I didn't know it was that bad.
Oh yeah, it's intense. But the numbers are astounding. I think it's at least 300, 400 million, if not more. It just keeps going up and up and up every year. No matter the stories of atrocities that you hear, you still hear numbers that the church, and if it goes on this rate, the party is certainly going to be outnumbered in a very short amount of time. And so we could see a very different China potentially within our lifetimes. It's kind of interesting.
Dude, I saw a picture the other day of a guy, like a college student, on top of a university with a bow and arrow. Like it's like a resistance. Like, could you imagine being so just like stripped of all your rights? You're like, you know what? I got nothing to lose. I'm gonna take a bow and arrow and fight these guys with machine guns. You know what I mean? Just because I've been so just robbed of everything.
It's really weird, like in the last like year and a half or so, that everything about like all the weird or just the bad stuff that we would consider bad going on in China is like going on. If you talk to people like in China, like a lot of the stuff that we would think like is bad, they're just like whatever about. Right. It's like a really weird way of, or I guess different way of thinking. If you talk to like Chinese nationals that are just like meh about their situation, I guess. I don't know.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't
know. From what I've heard from interviews of like Chinese, like, people our age and stuff, they're very much just like, they don't really care about the situation going on. They're very like complacent about everything. And I like in a bad way. They're just like, they don't have any hope that it's going to get any better or anything. Right. So they just kind of exist.
Yeah, part of that is, if you think about it, in almost in our lifetimes, but certainly in our parents' lifetime, was the Tiananmen Square and those kind of events where they really made those strong moves after Mao to assert their control. And so you have some of these young people that the ones that you just mentioned. That's all the world they know. Like some of the young people nowadays probably were at the Hollywood detox. They grew up post 9/11. They don't know what that felt like to wake up that morning and see that and feel that terror and sadness and all that.
Sure.
So it's the same thing with them growing up, being educated in their education system where the party is absolute. You do not cross them. It's just how it is. You are a cog in the machine. If you're a peasant in the countryside, you're less than even. They'll let you do what you're going to do because the mindset is that there's a bit of racism going on there. But they have this mindset of, well, animals are going to do what animals are going to do. So they let them have a little bit more leeway. It's intense when you see how, well, you saw it for yourself, just their gaze, their body language, how they talk about it. They kind of shrug and, well, what can you do? You know,
Right.
they realize they got the boot on their neck.
It seems like anymore, like economists always say that China is like the biggest growing market right now for like Western companies, like American companies, even European companies. Yeah, well, it's just there's so many people there that like haven't used like American products or American services or something like that. Like, I mean, I pay attention a lot to like the video game news and stuff, right? Well, they say in video games, the number one growing market right now is mobile games, like cell phone games, because there's just tons of people in like China and Southeast Asia and stuff like that that don't have TVs or computers or anything, and they just have a cell phone, so they just play games on their phone.
Makes sense. Huh.
Yeah, and I mean, like even just like think of like products around here like deodorant or something like that, you know what I mean? Like if they're gonna America, they're gonna sell, you know, like 500 million to us, but then there's a potential 500, you know, I mean, like 1 billion over there in China that's completely untapped. Like, who are they gonna try to get into the markets of, you know?
Did you that reminds me, did you see Ricky Gervais's thing on the Golden Globes? Did either of you guys see that?
Yeah, I saw that.
Yep, I did. Sure did.
Just to call out on Apple of exploiting the Chinese labor there.
Mm-hmm.
That, I don't know, my favorite part I think was the Jeffrey Epstein one.
Yeah.
Well, I know he was your friend.
It's so painfully obvious that he got murdered, man.
Oh,
like,
yes. What was the thing came out today? They just lost all the footage.
Yeah.
Was that last night?
Yeah, of the attempt, so to speak, that got him into isolation.
Yeah.
Oh, that's gone.
It's gone.
Yeah. It's okay. How is it
point,
gone?
They're not even hiding that it's a cover up.
If you think he committed suicide, you were the conspiracy theorist. It's not like, dude. I mean, who do you guys think killed him though? That's what I want to know.
I don't know, man. There's so many people. It could have been like a mob boss or something, you know?
Yeah, that's one of the things I haven't heard people take that next step in speculating, because I think it's so despicable. And it's so kind of right underneath the surface. You hear story after story of some of these Hollywood actors and musicians, and when they go up there as kids, they were hit on, they were molested, they were all that. It's like right under the surface, yet we kind of praise and idolize these people as it. And so if you got these really powerful movers and shakers that are literally writing our news and making our films and all that are part of this, their connections, who knows who they have that are willing to do the dirty work, you know?
Somebody told me something about like the Epstein mansion now is like in control of like either the CIA or something like that, or like the Israeli government or something like that.
I've heard that. Yeah, I don't know if it's true or not.
Yeah, man, that would be kind of crazy, huh? Because they what's like, you don't have somebody by the balls anymore than if like you've got dirt on them that they fucked kids, you know what I mean? Like I don't think there's a single act besides maybe murder, like
mass murder.
Yeah, murder and fucking kids are like the only, like the two highest sins, like, you know, like the crimes you can do.
Because think about it, you like, be honest, you think that a child molester is more disgusting than some guy that shoots another gang member. You just do. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, more often than not, you know. But yeah, I just wonder why it is that so many of these powerful people are into fucking kids or like molesting women. Is it like you've achieved everything and this is the one thing you can't have? Is it like a high they're chasing, or I don't know?
Was it Rogan talking to some CIA guy that said, I don't remember where I heard this from, but like they think it's like people trying to get dirt on these powerful people so they can make them do whatever they want. And they're like, oh, if you know, if you don't do what we want, we're gonna make it everybody know you're a pedophile. Like, that's pretty crazy. That's some like 4D chess, extra crazy tinfoil hat stuff, you know.
With that said, I still think it was the royal family whacked him. That's my thing.
Wow, from over the pond, huh?
Those guys have more money. Now, I'm not saying the queen herself walked in and did it.
How badass would that be, though, actually, if she just came like the Queen of England showed up in prison and just snapped some dude's neck? Like,
well, if the Queen of England can suicide you, do you really deserve to live?
Yeah,
I mean,
that's a good point.
at that point.
You are the weakest link, right? Like,
right.
That would be kind of funny to imagine, though, just the Queen of England.
I mean, Prince Harry and Meghan, they're retiring, I guess, and coming back and spending time over here. So, maybe he did some kind of deed and he's walking away. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we should look at him.
That's Harry's the one that's moving here, right? William was the other one
because he got that American girl, dude.
Yeah.
Every time I see Prince Harry, it always makes him laugh because he looks just like Carson Wentz. So whenever I see him in the tabloids, I'm like, oh, hey, Carson Wentz. Oh no, it's just Prince Harry.
Well, they were like outraged because she wasn't like filling it or like just falling in line with what, you know, the royal princess or whatever was supposed to do. Like I remember it was all over their tabloids that she opened her own car door. And that was
scandal.
Yeah. So I was like, I would hate to see them with me and my girlfriend because I never opened the car door for her.
Oh God. That's literally royalty, man. You know?
Yeah. Like but yeah, it was it's just a culture shock. It's completely different over there with just I don't know if either of you guys have ever been there. I know Nick's left the country. I don't know about
I've never been to England before, and I don't know if I'd want to.
I'd like to, certainly some of the European countries someday. But mostly I've been in Mexico a few times, like on some charity work type thing.
Yeah.
And my dad was stationed in Japan for 3 or 4 years.
Where did you go in Mexico?
Just like right over the border. I couldn't really tell you to this day where it was, but I just distinctly remember we were driving past miles and miles of houses, I guess that's what you'd say, made out of like garage doors and tin and all the just rolling hills of people living like that. And it was one of the charity organizations that would go in and it's a very basic plan, but in a day they will build a quote unquote proper house, I guess, for you with the materials and the strong sturdy, and give it to a family that's a single mother with kids, or somebody that really would need it. And I don't know how the choices were made, but it was just something I wanted to experience for myself. And it was intense seeing that and feeling that yourself. But still, there were kids, there were old men, there all that, shaking hands, wanted to play with you. They're still human beings. There's still joy and hope in them, despite what, from our standards, it looks like hell to live in.
Right.
But to them, it's their world, and they're making the most of it. So
seeing that level of poverty really like makes you just like glad you live in the United States and were born here, huh?
Yeah.
That's when I saw that. Like, I saw that stuff over in the Middle East and over in Africa, and I've seen kind of it just from seeing it from over the border in Mexico. Like, man, I just love the fact that we live in America, and like the fact that we have running water all the time.
Yeah, that's
I try not to take it for granted.
They say if you live in the United States and you have heating, running water, and refrigeration, you live more comfortably than King Henry VIII. Like, even if you're making like next to no money, if you have the heat on whenever you want, running water and a refrigerator, then you live more comfortably than King Henry VIII. I think that's just crazy to put it into perspective how far everything's come.
Wow. Yeah, I'd believe it. Yeah, there's so many things that we sometimes don't even think twice about.
Yeah, for sure. Like, that's another thing is like plumbing. Like it's an amazing accomplishment that you can push a lever and never see your shit again. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it takes what you don't want away, and it brings clean, fresh stuff in when you want. That is pretty crazy.
And, sometimes when the police are knocking, you need to flush your drugs down the. No, I'm just kidding.
That was the one thing when I was deployed that I was really happy for, that our base was just built up enough to have these janky toilets so we didn't have to go like out and dig it up. That was the one thing I was just like, oh, thank you God, I do not have to do that. Like, right?
Well,
I don't know.
you were over in by Somalia, right?
Yes, yeah.
So you've got a real perspective of.
Yeah, they it's like we were just like out in the jungle, and this little base is like 40 miles away from Somalia, and they actually, in the news, we saw, my buddies were like sharing this around on Facebook, that like a week ago, like that same base I was on got attacked by Somali like Al-Shabaab militants over there. And I like initially I was like, oh man, that's crazy. And then like after it, like the emotional part of it kind of rained down, I was like, oh man, I bet you the guys that were on that base just like got super just chill. Like they stopped going out on patrols and stuff and stopped actually like being aggressive in that area. Cause when we were there, our intel guy told us like the guys there were terrified of, even the like local population was like terrified of the Americans.
Really?
Yeah. If we saw some guy come like anywhere near that area, we would go and like detain them. Like, we were always just beefing that place up. Right. So I'm thinking like, oh man, that was like 3-4 years ago. I bet you they just had nothing happen for like 2-3 years and they just got complacent, and there's always people watching you over there. So they were just like, oh yeah, these guys aren't doing anything cool. We'll just go blow up a plane real quick. Like,
yeah. Were you ever in Mogadishu or no?
No, God,
okay.
No. Like way farther away from where I was.
Okay. I've heard they've actually come a long way.
Mogadishu?
Just compared to where it was a couple years ago.
Really?
Yeah, that's are you from Omaha then, or?
No, I was a military brat. Okay. So yeah, I was born in Cherry Point, North Carolina, and
cool.
And since then, every 3-4 years, it's a new place.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Definitely. I was gonna say, Ben, definitely you seem like a kind of guy that's well traveled. So.
Yeah, I've been lived on both coasts. Part of my elementary school years were over in Japan, like I said, and a few states in between, and just kind of landed at high school in San Diego was the end of it. And I had a choice. My parents and my brother were going to move one last time. My dad retired from the Marine Corps after 20 plus years, and I had the choice at age 18, for the first time ever in my life, stand on my own 2 feet and try to make it there in San Diego while the only family I knew really moved out to Nebraska. Or I could follow them out one last time, apply to college there, kind of get my feet planted on my own life. And thankfully, I chose the second one. I really wouldn't have done well if I was was trying to make it on my own in San Diego. And 97, 90, would have been good. So.
Cali's tough, man. Cali's a tough place to make it. It's like this apartment that I live in would probably cost around $9 or $10 grand a month in like LA. Yeah, it's like it's no joke.
What was your favorite place, Ben?
Oh, that's a great question.
No, it's not Omaha. You don't have to lie to us.
I keep coming back to Japan. We were on a military base called Iwakuni, Japan. So you look at it, it's just this little pinprick of a military base. You can get on your bike and ride from side to side in not that much time. It was real tiny, and it's really close to Hiroshima. So it's on the mainland there, and we're able to drive over, or take our bike rides out there and visit it from time to time. Got to see the Memorial Museum with my own eyes that they have there, where they have like wax figures showing you people melting in the radiation flat. Like, it's intense, especially with people with a family with white skin moving through there. It was silent out of respect, of course, but also horror of human beings doing that to other human beings. No matter what the justification is, that's horrific. But yeah, I was there's so many things that came out of Iwakuni, Japan. Being able to there was a time where once or twice a year they would open up the military base and invite the people around in the surrounding neighborhoods just to come in and just share a day with us. So they'd have planes set up on the tarmacs, and we'd have booths and all kinds of like a cultural exchange type of thing. It was really, really cool to do. So,
I've heard that the like Hiroshima and like, because I don't know why, but like when I was a kid, like I always just thought even like in high school, I always thought just like Hiroshima was just still like a big smoldering like crater, like nobody
People live
lived there.
now, don't they?
Yeah, like the city's like built up and stuff, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's almost like if you played SimCity as a kid when you had that monster come through and bomb the heck out of everything. Yeah. You have to give it a few cycles, but it does build back up. Yeah, it's crazy when you see the pictures right after that bomb dropped where it was leveled. There's a few pictures that you can see. If you look at some of them, there's one that's like it's got a hollowed out dome on it, and it's like it was an observatory or some kind of thing. They turned that into the memorial museum, which is really cool. Yeah, and you see the pictures of it. It is like a different city, but I imagine you look at things like the cancer rates and stuff, you can see the legacy of that is still touching them today. That's how powerful that thing was.
Is it still like higher radiation? Are there still like parts of the city where you can't go because of radiation? Or
it's not as bad as Chernobyl. Like something that whatever happened there was so potent that human beings cannot come near it. This is, for some reason, it was either dissipated over wide areas or it sunk into the soil and the water, some sort of thing. But it allowed people to. It's basically a city that rebuilt up around where it dropped. Yeah.
From what like I've talked to somebody who was like studying to do like nuclear chemistry type stuff. He told me that the bomb that they dropped in, or the bombs they dropped in Japan, were like hydrogen bombs, right? They weren't like true nukes.
Okay.
So like they use like nuclear fission or whatever to explode, but like so like with Chernobyl, like that was like a nuclear power plant that basically blew up. That was more closer to like a nuclear bomb than like the hydrogen bombs that they used in Japan and stuff. So because like those bombs that they used in Hiroshima and Nagasaki are like compared to the bombs we have now, like
it's not even close.
I think the biggest one that ever went off was the Tsar bomb that was by the Soviet Union. I think the Tsar bomb was like 100 Nagasaki's, like the power of that bomb. So
jeez. Wow. Man, where do you even set something like that off? Do you know?
I think they like blew up. I think they like blew up an island and just completely erased it off the face of the earth. Like with that thing.
I mean, I wasn't alive during the nuke drills and stuff, but I've heard stories. It's that's an interesting concept. It's how that kind of stuff is more about keeping the order than about actually. I mean, because obviously hiding under your desk's not going to stop it. You know what I mean? And it's like the mass shooter drills. You know, like as someone who's been through a school shooting, I was at Millard. I don't know if you were in Omaha at that time, Millard South.
I've heard about it.
2011. Yeah, that was like there were 2 people died, and at that point in time in 2011, because that was my freshman year, in 2011, 2 people died in a school shooting. It was huge news. Now it's kind of like whatever. It's as sad as that is, but it was like I remember the drill where like they huddled us all in the back of a classroom and we just sat there, and I'm like I just felt like this is not what we should be doing if we want to stay alive. You know what I mean? Because it's fish in a barrel at that point. So it's just weird how that's just about keeping the order.
Yeah, because you have a lot of top video games that the really difficult and quote unquote fun ones are the ones where the AI anticipates that, and you got enemies coming at from different angles and all that. So if you have that kind of logic working there, that, I mean, obviously the little kids want that kind of safety and all that stuff in numbers, but there needs to be something else. I would agree. So
definitely. It definitely gives you an interesting perspective going through one on just everything when it goes on. It's a different perspective. I'm not saying I'm the expert, but ours was a little weird. That kid was jacked up on spice. I don't know if you know what that is.
Like bath salt,
like K2. It's a little different than bath salt. It's like
bad.
It's like artificial weed, basically. It's like artificial marijuana. Okay. It really like it does so much different things to everybody. No. Yeah, it just it can like really mess people up like really bad.
Yeah, it's not the same. And then and his dad was like a Lincoln police officer, and he had stolen his gun and shot 2 of the principals and at one of the janitors, and we were about 50 feet from it, which was crazy.
Jeez.
It was actually a week ago. Yeah, it was 1/5/11, so it was 5 days ago. But yeah, we were like 50 feet, and I remember saying to my friend, I'm like, maybe we should get out of here in case it's like school shooting situation. And I remember this teacher like ripping into me, like she turns around, she's, don't say that, you're gonna scare people. Oh, I'm like, well, guess I wasn't wrong, you know. But
and to put that into context too, if I remember, that was only like a year and a half or something after the Von Mar thing happened, wasn't it? It like wasn't
about
that
2 or
long.
3 years. About 2
Yeah.
years. Yeah. Because Von Mar was like 07, I think.
Was it? I thought it was like closer to 09 or 10 because I remember being in high school when the Von Mar thing happened.
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, because I remember I was like getting glasses for the first time when that happened. Because I remember my optometrist was right by the mall, and I remember like seeing the Von Mar like out the window, going like, "Oh, that's kind of scary to see that over there." Like we were just recently after it happened, but I don't know. Maybe I'm just remembering it wrong, but
it could be. That was thankfully I wasn't there for that one.
Right.
I don't know. So surprisingly, the Westroads has recovered from that. I didn't think it would, but were you? So when did you move to Omaha?
The winter, 2008 going to 2009. That's when I came in.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that might have been during that. It was because have you ever heard that song "Pumped Up Kicks"?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
That's about the Westroads Mall shooting.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's got the name of the guy, and then it's Pumped Up Kicks because Von Mar is kind of a classier place.
Oh.
And he shot it. Yeah. So that was the point of it. So it's like whenever I remember I was in the Westroads one time, and that song was playing, and I was like, really?
Oh my god.
That's kind of tasteless.
Hey, Caleb, it was right at the end of 2007 going into 2008. It was like December 2007.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
Wow. Huh. Man,
that was a big deal. That, I mean, like 10, 12 years ago, it wasn't really that common for public shootings as it is now. It seems like it's just gotten way more common the past like 3-4 years.
I don't know. What do you guys think that is? What is it? Because it's like coverage, maybe? Like that we plaster these guys around like rock stars, or?
You think some of the promotion, or it comes across as promotion and glorifying of it?
Yeah.
Social media gets people really riled up in the last like 3-4 years too. So
it does. I think we see a lot more shootings that are like politically and racially motivated as compared to 5 years ago, where it was just some nutcase.
Yeah, it seems like there's so many variables though. It's really tough to take the risk and say this is the cause, and then therefore we need to ban this, because inevitably you are going to be wrong in a lot of respects, right? Because it's just so many tentacles to this thing. But it seems like there's something to be said about how we communicate and how we argue now has been changed, because social media is a great tool for connection, but when you use it as a weapon, it isolates, it wounds, and all that. But it has that instant gratification stuff of, I owned that dude. We got his information and we destroyed his life. We made him quit his job. Instant gratification. So I'm wondering if some of that political victory of, hey, I won a political argument because I researched my points and they listened and they didn't have as good points and he conceded the point. Instead of that, it's this, I need to own you. I need to clap back at you. And so I'm wondering if, especially with some of the younger people, they see access to firearms that their parents have or whatnot and say, this is the ultimate version of shutting that person up. I'm wondering if that's the case of instant gratification, what's they're after.
I don't know. And if they do ban like one thing too, it's probably like doing one thing is going to cause a bunch of other unforeseen consequences on stuff too. Like,
I feel like a gun, they use a gun because it's like it's like the most like hands-on type thing. It's more personal. If they because there are, like, you see over in Paris, people, they don't have guns over there, so people just hop in a truck and run people over. But there is something that goes to say about the online arguments and everything. I've always wondered the psychology behind that, because it's like, who are you trying to show off for other than yourself? A bunch of strangers who are going to forget about it in 5 minutes. And I never read other people's arguments on Facebook. I don't know about you guys, but I mean, I'm more than willing, like you said, to have like an educated discussion with somebody. But if it just turns into a shit show, then it's just a waste of time. So
Yeah, and of course the ongoing issue of how things have changed, the attitudes and thoughts about mental health, about the priority that takes in this country. That if you have a bunch of kids or just people that are on the outside of society, on the fringes anyway, the more that it seems like you see a lot of their stories of in isolation. Afterwards, you see their journals and stuff in isolation. It's like, I'm not being loved or noticed or heard or seen. And eventually you just get hammered over and over, day after day after day. You perceive like you're being attacked, and people are doing that on purpose to you. Eventually that starts to turn into, how dare they? I'm going to show them, type of thing. And so if you have some kind of interceding voice, even if it's like a teacher that gives a damn or something. I can remember to this day the faces and the names of the teachers that would talk to me after class from time to time, because they noticed that my C was atypical for me, but it was a lack of effort. There was something about the way what I turned in that was different, and they spoke up and they said something. I remember them to this day. So I'm wondering if part of the attitudes of teachers or others are just way too swamped, busy. We got to teach the standards. We got to get past tests. I can't work. I want to worry about these kids, but my hands are tied.
I feel like that's a really good point. Like,
Definitely.
some people can really underestimate how much it can mean in somebody's life of like just being a good, like being a kid and having like at least just one good role model. There's so many kids out there that grow up that just like don't have like a single just like good person that they can look up to. So like they just always get kind of stuck in that cycle, like whether it's a teacher, like a good teacher, or like, I mean, even somebody maybe in like a church or somebody in like an after school activity or something like that, sports. It just, there's so many kids that grow up anymore that just don't have any of that. Like,
and I think that does bring an interesting point about exclusion, and maybe not to the point of violence, but when we see a lot of people going off the deep end, I feel like, in entertainment and media. Do you know who Owen Benjamin is?
A little bit.
He's a comedian.
Okay.
He's a little edgy and offensive. I've heard worse. I honestly don't know what people's problem with him is. I don't know if maybe he has political views or whatever. But he got harassed by what I call the blue check mark mafia, basically run out of business on by journalists and social justice warrior types, and that guy since then has gone off the deep end. So it's, obviously he loves doing comedy. He's made a career out of it. You took that away from him. So I feel like, people, they just kind of lose it because that's the other thing is I don't use my real name when I do comedy. My Facebook doesn't have anything about my employer, where I went to school, nothing like that. Because you don't know when someone's going to get pissed off about a joke and I'm calling that son of a bitch's work. You know what I mean? Like there's, I don't know about you guys, but there's nothing you can say to me or do that's going to piss me off to the point where I'm like, I don't want you to eat. You know what I mean? I'm going to call your job and ruin your life. I just don't, there's nothing you can do.
It's hard to comprehend that. I mean, certainly as human beings, if we're being honest, we've all felt in the moment fury of, I want this to happen to him, especially you get cut off on the road, or we all have those thoughts of, I just want to punch that dude in the nose or whatever it is. But that's a whole other level of like, you're attacking like the dignity of them to exist. Well, that's a different thing.
Right.
They talk about that a lot in like church stuff that I know, where like, it's like human and natural to have those thoughts of doing that, right? Sure. Like, but actually acting on it is really where you like the bad thing about it. Like,
I mean, and that's and as far as like road rage, or guys talking shit at a bar and you punch them in the face. Somebody made a Facebook post that pissed me off. I'm gonna call their job. There's a lot of thought that goes into that before you actually do it. You don't have to dial the number. You don't have to click call. You can hang up when they pick up. There's a lot of stuff, and you still do it. It's like, I just don't know. If someone is messing with you, just block them. If you don't like what they're saying, it's not their job's problem. It's, it's.
I feel like when it comes to comedy, like, Yeah, you could tell some jokes that might get some groans or might be a little darker subject or something. But I feel like, I feel like if you're telling a joke though that like somebody could record and to send to your work, like I don't. It doesn't really think like, at least to me, like I don't think I would ever fire anybody unless they were telling some joke that was just like completely terrible. You know what I
Like if they
mean?
went up and like dropped the N-word or something like
Yeah,
that.
or just they had doing Nazi salutes or like saying that women are worthless or or men
Hitler
are
was right, shit like
yeah,
that.
some dumb shit where you're just like, God, what are you talking about, man? Like, I don't know if I want to be around you.
Yeah.
It's like, is there room anymore for people to be immature and dumb? Are we allowed to make mistakes anymore and be able to learn from them and grow? Because there's, as comedians, part of our art form, part of what we get to do is, if anybody else fails at it in society, comedians are supposed to stand there and not flinch and tell the truth.
Yeah,
in some way, shape, or form, we hold up a mirror and defy you to tell us to get off the stage. Because to me, it sounds like there's such arrogance to look at another human being and judge to the point of saying, I'm going to cancel you.
Yeah.
How in the world can you have that arrogance to say that?
So tough with comedians too, because it's literally comedians' job to like push boundaries. You know what I mean? To see how far is too far. Yeah. Like literally, people get paid big money to do that, and it's just like, man, you can really get messed up doing that. Like,
yeah. Well, I mean, even if you search, like, if you go on Twitter now and search Ricky Gervais canceled, like, that's not, like, I know we use the term cancel culture to refer to it, but that's actually a group of people there. We need to cancel this guy. Why hasn't he been canceled? They're actually discussing that. Like, how do we ruin this guy's life because he went on a 10-minute rant on TV that I watched the entire 10 minutes of and didn't turn off, even though it made me mad. Like,
the Owen Benjamin example that you said of, you have that other example of we almost seem to enjoy the suffering, the misery of, once somebody is deemed worthy of being canceled or pushed to the fringes, there's almost a sick pleasure in taking, oh, what did he do now? Oh, did he beat his kid? Did he try to shoot himself? Oh, that's like, there's a glee to it. I don't know if you've seen that South Park episode with the Britney Spears thing. Where
that's exactly what I was thinking about.
Where you got this sick overall agreement as society to push that. And of course, South Park, they take that ridiculous turn of where it's because they're doing it on purpose to get a sacrifice for the crops. Really, really a funny concept. But you look at it, and the truth that they're telling about that is really sickeningly close to what we are seeing with some of these people.
Think about it. Even like the last like 3-4 years. I mean, it was like Justin Bieber. Everyone was always just, it's fun to shit on. Like, it's just like it's human nature almost. It's just fun to shit on people sometimes as a group.
Yeah.
Like, it feels like we like as a society, like, people just need that. Like, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, I was just making sure because my camera thing is like, I can't see you guys on my.
Yeah, I think our camera's being dumb, but we still have audio, so we're good. So
cool. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, you guys have heard me do comedy. I shit on people too. I feel like I'm an equal opportunity shitter. I go after everybody.
Equal opportunity shitter. I'll shit on anybody, literally.
So we've done about an hour.
Yeah.
Do we want to promo anything, Ben? Do you want to tell people what you got going on in the near future?
Yeah, sure. I appreciate it. In addition to that comedy show on the 25th of January that I mentioned at the top, I perform every Friday at the Big Canvas Theater for 2 different teams. So one is Outside the Box that performs at 7 p.m. every first and third Friday, and another team called Roll the Dice every second and fourth Friday at 8:30. And of course, the only thing outside of that I'm working on is at the end of February, I will be in my second play with the Florentine Players up in Florence, Nebraska. It's One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Cool.
It's going to be intense, and the cast and crew that is with this already in rehearsals. It's amazing what they're getting into and what they're bringing out. So it's going to be a powerful play coming up in February.
How far is Florence?
Man, about 8-9 miles or so
Okay,
from.
not that far.
Yeah, it's just straight north, but of course,
It'd be
not
like
as,
almost like driving up to like Bennington or something.
Yeah.
just about, short of that. Yeah, you essentially kind of follow I-80 all the way around, and they take that bend all the way up north. You literally just take that street all the way; it'll take you to the turn that you'll need. It's a very straightforward place. So
Cool.
Yeah.
I'll see if I'm busy that. Or what weekend is that?
That is February 20th through the 23rd. So
Okay.
that third week in February. So,
I'll have to see if I'm busy that weekend. But you guys can see me at the Never Too Late to Laugh. Also at what's the name of that? Big Canvas Theater, January 18th. Nice. Tony Geis is a super cool guy. I really like him.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you worked with
him and
before.
Matt Blevins and
Yep. Zach Peterson's
dudes.
the headliner, which is he's fantastic. He's a professional comic. So, and then January 31st, Wired Pub and Grill. You can see me, Comedy and Chaos. We put the whole thing together, so hopefully it'll go smoothly.
Yeah, right.
Anything else anybody wants to add before we pack it up and go?
No, hey, thanks for coming on, Ben.
Oh, good. Yeah, thanks for coming on for sure.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been a lot of fun,
Great
man.
Show. Great show.
Yeah, appreciate it.
All right, guys, go and like us, subscribe, all that shit, whatever you got to do. Sorry the video cut out. You know how it works. Go donate money to us so we can get better equipment.
So the video doesn't cut out. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. All right, motherfuckers. Peace out.
Deuces.